The Marching Roundtable is proud to be an official media partner of Drum Corps International.
Thanks for coming to the Marching Roundtable YouTube channel, sharing great information to help you succeed in all the marching arts. While you're here, we hope you'll subscribe.
Early season, in our conversations back in like October and November, we knew that we wanted to push for a larger weapon presence in our shows. And last year was our first big step with that. And this year we knew that we wanted that push to really be Saber. And I mean, don't get us wrong, we all love a Ballad flag feature, but we really thought it would be a step, like a huge step in the right direction for Phantom to maybe try something new in terms of like what our Ballad could offer us. And so we really wanted to have a large Saber line and to dance and to not have a silk for the Ballad, which was new. And I think that this group of kids that we had auditioning through the process kind of like, I mean, it made us be able to make up our mind early enough that, yeah, we're gonna be able to push the group itself to like have this larger weapon presence, but more specifically have this larger Saber presence.
The vulnerability of just even walking through the prop is something that he was very adamant about from the beginning. We didn't want it to come across as a theater curtain or something that we needed to like announce ourselves visually through. He very much was enamored by the idea of just letting the fabric drape over the human body as it comes out onto the stage.
The cool thing with the moving around, like very similar to how everyone's interpretation is different, the emotion that you're putting into it is different. The fabrics never move the same way. Like two pieces of fabric that are sitting next to each other are receiving the same blow from the wind, and they'll go in completely different directions. And when that's happening and they're spread out on the field, it's also like, I mean, it's beautiful and ethereal to look at, but like in terms of the show, it's like, well, that's also exactly what we're asking the kids to do. We're hear the same music, feel the same breeze, and feel it your way. And that's represented like in the most basic way by the fabric not laying twice the same direction. It's really cool.
Hey everybody, it's Tim Hinton, the Beast of the Marching Arts. Thanks for listening to the Marching Roundtable podcast. We're talking the Phantom Regiment today, which is I'm an alumni of the Corps. It's my Corps. I'm always excited to talk about Phantom Regiment. And today we're talking specifically about color guard. So Blake Dutton is here with us. Blake, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. And sitting next to him also, Erin Boone. Erin, how are you?
I'm doing well.
So you guys are so nice to stop and talk to me. Where are you right now in the world?
We're actually in Shelbyville, Indiana for rehearsal day. We were in Whitewater, Wisconsin last night, and we're stopping by before we go down south to Sevierville, Tennessee tomorrow.
So you're on tour with the Corps, and I'm pulling you away from rehearsals. I feel really bad, or at least from break time.
Yeah.
Well,
all good.
Thank you for being here. The show is beautiful. The guard looks absolutely wonderful. How are you feeling about how things are going?
Oh, really great. It's been a fun project to work with from the beginning. It's emotional, so it's a good like thing to kind of dive into, especially in the summer. People's lives are kind of everywhere, and we get to come to this escape and put everything into a show that already in itself has so much emotion. So it's been really awesome to work on in the past couple weeks.
Wonderful. So I think I just assumed everybody knew who you guys are. I think they do, but Blake, why don't you just introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Blake Dutton, and I am originally from the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas. Went to school there, college as well, and then once I was done with that, I moved up to Indianapolis, where I currently reside, and I've been here for about 12 years, and I teach at Avon High School, Center Grove High School, and Brownsburg, if I'm not doing stuff with drum corps, and I'm full-time color guard person.
So you got nothing going on. That's,
Yeah.
that's a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And Erin, I'll let you introduce yourself too before I start asking other questions.
Yeah, of course. I am Erin Boone. I am originally from the Indianapolis, Indiana area. Lived there my whole life, 34 years, until recently. I just moved to DC in April. So first time out of the city. It's been fun. I am lucky to still be able to work with Cedar Grove High School out of Indianapolis. And past that, I am full-time regiment.
Wow, exciting. So Tony, I talked to Tony Hall about, I was like, Tony, who do you want me to talk to promote the regiment this summer? And he said, I really am so excited about what's going on with the color guard. I'd love for you to talk with Blake and Erin. I was like, well, who doesn't want to talk about this? So how did it end up that you guys ended up there together doing this work together?
It would have been in 2022 when this all transpired, but we I was called from Stephen Estidio, who's the drill writer for Phantom, about the position being open. And shortly after that, Erin and I were in my kitchen, funny enough, and I asked her if she wanted to do it. And without much hesitation, we both kind of looked at each other and were like, this could be a lot of fun. So that started the journey with Phantom, and it feels strange to say that 3 years have already passed by, but it is already pretty comfortable with the team we have comprised together of a lot of colleagues with other programs that we worked with during the winter season, but also some people that we have brought on specifically for the Phantom Regiment Color Guard. But the time spent has been fun, and that's what makes it feel like it flies by so quickly. And it feels like it's been a lifetime, but it's only been 3 years since that talk in the kitchen. But that's how it all happened.
A lot happens in the world of drum corps in 3 years' time. So, Erin, how has it been collaborating on this?
It's been fun. Blake and I have had very few paths that have crossed. We marched together one Winter Guard season. We taught a high school group together for one season. And so this environment that we get to kind of create in together has been a lot of fun. I mean, outside of Color Guard, he's one of my best friends. Before I moved to DC, I mean, definitely an everyday type of hang. So it's makes work more enjoyable when you get to do it with the people that you love, and the friendships that we've developed with not just the color guard caption, but this entire drum corps staff has been amazing. So it really has felt like home all 3 years.
Even the volunteer base and alumni are so strong in their presence, and we have so many connections now with people that are deeply rooted with the organization that have made the process incredibly enjoyable.
Yeah, you mentioned the alumni. I was up in Rockford in 2019 doing interviews in person with the Corps, and I saw that whole thing go down where the Alumni Guard have this day with, I think it's right at Show of Shows, right? Where they have this thing they do with the Guard. Did that just happen?
Yeah.
So you want to talk about that? I just think that's the coolest thing.
That is a huge initiative by the ladies of the 80s for the color guard caption specifically, and they just shower the color guard with love and affection and gifts. They make them a cake with their group photo on it every year, and just really try to keep the ties and connections to our history very much present. And the Guard loves it. They get these little goodie bags every year with headbands and fans and all the necessary essentials that you maybe forgot to pack an extra thing of toothpaste. Well, they gave you a toothbrush and toothpaste. So they've gone through the rigor of drum corps, so they know what they need to give the kids to make sure they can make it to the next Walmart run. But it is always a fun time. And the alumni themselves are always so eager to do it for the Color Guard. So that's why it always just feels so special, because the love comes from them, but it's reciprocated back from the members, and it's really special. And they've been doing that for quite a while. I believe Amy told us that they started it back in 2018, might have been the year right before the year you were interviewing the Corps.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. And Erin, when you're part of a Corps with such a history, like, I mean, so many of our drum corps have these long, long histories, but like to have that sort of tangible connection with people that loved the Corps so long ago and are still excited about it, that's just a cool thing for the members to get to sort of grasp.
It is. I don't even know if they understand how much their support means to us. I mean, like the fact that they show up and do that and educate the kids on like important people in our Phantom Regiment Color Guard history and captains who have like pushed the group to take that next step. And outside of them showering the love to the kids, like their open doors towards Blake and I the whole time has been overwhelmingly like amazing. It is truly a family with a PH. But without the support of the alumni and the people that have come before us and kind of set the ground for us to be able to step into this organization and feel like we can, be here every day and do the work, it means a lot. And it's been fun getting to know them. They're a fun group of alumni.
Yes. Very fun.
Yeah, that they are, and it's wonderful that they do that. And anybody, you can go to the Marching Roundtable YouTube channel and sort of search for Phantom Regiment. You can find those videos of when I was there doing those interviews and things, and see some footage from that happening. So, is there any sense of like responsibility that can be hard to overcome when you're taking on a role like this? Or I mean, you guys are just so accomplished. You just, hey, we're just going to do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like sometimes the corps can be some baggage there to like all the history and the expectations.
I personally had reservations taking the position before saying yes, just because of the history of the Corps. And I've lived in lanes similar to what my responsibilities are here at Phantom Regiment with other organizations in the past. So that made it a little bit easier to say yes, but I've been a fan of the Phantom Regiment since my brother was marching with the Bluecoats in the early 2000s. So I have had many friends go through the program. I have been an admiring fan when I was in drum corps as a marching member. So that did put some pressure on the decision to say yes, because we always want to do a good job. But when it's tacked onto a group that has such a history of success, you really want to make sure that you are a part of that and not a blip on the radar of something that might feel a little off. And also, with it being a new organization that I didn't have any ties with, that also felt a little uncomfy, for lack of a better word, but it quickly became very comfortable with the dynamic we had with all of the other caption staffs. We luckily were able to join on board with JD Shaw and his brass team, who were already pretty settled in with the drum corps. And Tyler Sammons and Matt Penland are both alumni of the drum corps, and they came on at the same time when we joined forces in 2023. So we weren't just the new kids on the block. We definitely were, just by nature of who we were with prior, but it quickly, like Erin said earlier, became a very good network of family on the staff side of things that made the job very easy to do pretty quickly.
And I think that because there was some returning, like with the brass staff and JD and all, mixed with some of the new with us, with the percussion team, with the visual team, all joining in 23 at the same time. It was also an opportunity for us to kind of set a new standard for Regiment and new expectations and new things that we wanted to do with the drum corps. So it's been a fun journey for us to discover like where that is and what that is, and to make it our own version of Regiment while still holding true to all those core things that we all grew up in the color guard community loving about the Phantom Regiment. So it's been fun creating this version of what that is in the activity.
And I'd be remiss to not mention the visual staff being led by Matt Hartwell. I marched with Matt, so to have that connection too felt comfy to let this all really turn into, like Erin said, a new brand aesthetic, if you will, for a drum corps that already has such a strong presence in the activity.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a small little marching world, really. Like we all sort of know each other, and everybody works over here and over there, and then we all find where all of a sudden we're reconnected over here. And then you mentioned your brother a minute ago, Blake. Like I remember I was running around Lucas Oil during some marching thing, and I saw you both, and it was at that moment I realized there were two of you.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there were two Duttons that you're very similar in good ways, all good ways. But anyway, I don't know why I'm sharing that story, but I thought I would.
It's a small world, marching world.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So you have this responsibility to sort of, I feel like the whole activity right now, it's like, can we take what this corps has been and meant to people and represented, and then like bring it in to all the new stuff that's happening. I feel like Regiment has been one of the groups that's especially been successful at this. And I just congrats on that, because I mean, the shows have been wildly popular, as you know. And this year, I think it's going to be the same thing. Like it's exciting. So is there a lot of discussion about, I mean, are you in the weeds of that part, or is it simply like, let's make a great show and go forward?
We were both at the meeting when the show was in its infancy in November. We were with the design team in Texas for a little design retreat. And from that point forward, the conversations just start flowing. Stephen Estidio leads the visual side of things, and JD is the head lead for the music. And JD has more conversations with Tyler and Matt per the percussion writing that needs to be done. But Stephen starts tinkering away with the concept of the props was a big thing that was a huge part of the discussion in that early November meeting. Stephen was very inspired by that imagery, had a lot of source images to pull from for the scale and scope of what those could be in the midst of our stage. And we really just went from there without limitations and restrictions of what could be. We didn't try to put it into a box too soon, which then 7 months later turns into the conversation that everybody is asking, like, what's the show title and what's the concept? And it is something that we very much, starting with the members, have given to them to be able to interpret in their own way to make it special for them. And we also want that to be the way in which it's received from the audience. Because there's always going to be critics and there's always going to be opinions, but at the root of it all, we want to entertain and we want to make you feel something. That is something that JD often mentions that we have as our special power of a drum corps, is we really allow the audience to feel. And that is something that is very much present with this program this year. It is so tender at times. It's hard hitting. It's aggressive. It's quirky at times, and that really in and of itself is what we are hanging our hat on as the concept, if you will, to just make sure that this is a program that you can feel attached to personally as an individual and also just love it as a fan of drum corps.
Wow, Erin, you mentioned the emotions earlier as well. So is this an advantage for working on the show, or is it a liability to have this sort of emotional base for everything that's happening? I mean, that's a regiment thing, as Blake said, but still, I'm wondering about this show.
I feel it's an advantage. And we, Stephen and JD, sat down with the full drum corps and staff that were on tour just a couple weeks ago, and kind of gave insight into how the show developed for both of them, which really just opens the door for the kids in the drum corps and the individuals on staff that are putting it together to understand that, like, the show truly is what you want it to be. So sometimes it might feel sad, and sometimes it might feel happy, and sometimes it might feel exciting, and the story that you're able to attach to it is your own. So, like, as staff members, as the people trying to put it on the field and put it together, while also checking all the boxes we have to along the way. I would say, I mean, it's been a challenge, but, like, being able to, like, strip down and really say, like, well, what are we trying to feel? What is it that we want to make it feel, and how can that motif drive what we do choreography wise, what we're doing in terms of moving the props, and what we're doing in terms of, like, spinning our equipment and dancing. So for us, it's been like a release, maybe a little bit. And we've gotten to experience that, like Blake said, from the beginning, from the initial design meeting. But after the kids in the drum corps got to hear that from JD and Stephen, they've been able to, like, really dig a little bit deeper in terms of, like, well, what is this show to me? And when I am able to do it in front of people, what am I trying to get them to feel? And it might, like I said, it might be different every time. And I think that's the cool part about this, is that there isn't going to be one show that's the same in terms of the mood of it, right? Like, depending on the audience, depending on where we are. Was it a hard, hot day? Was it a long bus ride the night before? Like, it's very, like, fluid in that way, which I think is an interesting challenge for us as we go down the road. We're super early in our tour right now, so we're still developing, like, what it is day to day that we're going to feel when we bring this thing to the field. But it has been a little bit of a release to be able to have this thing to pour emotion into. That's not just, like, counts and downs and ups and metronome clicks and all, all the things that we have to do at drum corps. It feels a little bit deeper than that, which makes it just great to work with every day. Like, you get this outlet that we don't normally get in everyday life to just, like, be vulnerable.
Yeah, and I feel like, again, the regiment the last few years has been especially great at this. Like, there's this sense of freedom of performers from the performers, the freedom of performance coming off the field from them. Like they feel like they're giving themselves permission to you, like you just said, to be vulnerable, to really express. And the audience, that's what I think the audience is responding to, especially, so is there techniques that you use to help performers do that? Because anybody that's listening to this conversation is gonna be like, man, I wish my kids could do more of this. Like, how do you get them there? I know that we're talking about world-class performers here on one of the top drum corps in the world. So that's a different story. But like, can you speak to that at all? How do you help them become vulnerable and be comfortable expressing so dramatically?
We have a handful of tactics and strategies. My apologies. We, on the color guard side of things, early on towards the halfway point of our pre-tour time in Owensboro, our movement technician and choreographer Lex had a very unprompted time with the color guard where they just were at like the end of the third week and they needed to let it all out. And it was brought on, we were spying from outside. They had a dance class in the cafeteria when this happened. But it was really beneficial for the color guard from a vulnerability standpoint because it was led by them just finding another person in the ensemble and just staring at them, just looking into their eyes and letting whatever trials or tribulations you might be dealing with at the time go and release all of those anger and aggressive feelings that you might have towards things that are stressful at drum corps, and just set it aside and just be you and be present in that moment. And that for me is kind of also rooted in tactics that we both have been a part of with Pride of Cincinnati. We've had some workshops with George Penny before that really have like gotten to the deep core approach for emotion and performance. And that is also an organization that Lex has been a part of. So she has it in her wheelhouse to just use that with the group at times. And then for the full drum corps, we pivoted just a few days ago from some pretty hairy rainstorms that were coming in, and we're able to chat with one of our former drum majors, Darian Sanders. He has been on Broadway as Simba in The Lion King. Yeah. So if you want to talk about a world-class performer that has a wealth of knowledge of being vulnerable and really selling performance value and quality, he is at the top of the list. And he had a great conversation with the full drum corps, spanning all of the emotions that we're expecting from them and the ways in which they can be presented and also individualized from person to person. So it doesn't feel like we're just stamping a face on them and expecting that to read and translate as the emotion that we want. Like it all just circles back to what we're trying to say with the show. We can say, be happy, be sad, but that means something different for each individual person. So the tactic that has been used the most right now are just those conversations have to happen. You have to sit down and talk with them. It's not a rudimentary skill you can teach. You have to actually have some, for lack of a better term, uncomfortable conversations, because many times people are told to repress their emotions and not let them spill out and be felt and be seen. So we do feel like it is a necessary thing to talk about it if we expect that from them. So I guess the best strategy would be conversation. You kind of have to talk about it first so we can then start to build the foundation for
right. And then you guys are demonstrating that, of course, and you're modeling as you're teaching too. I feel like Eryn, to what he just said, like right now the world can be a scary place to sort of show who you are and express yourself. And so that's one of the great joys of being in something like a marching band, a drum corps, a winter guard, whatever. Like it's a safe space to be able to express. So I'm excited that the members have that opportunity.
Yeah, and we're in no way, shape, or form trying to create this like utopian thought that everything's perfect and everything's awesome. In order to feel the things we want to get from the performers, you kind of have to have the good with the bad. So we do want to talk about sadness. We do want to talk about grief. We do want to talk about all of the things that really balance the scale out for emotions, because if we can feel all of them, then we can hopefully have more crayons to color with from an emotional standpoint. So,
and we've been throughout all of it encouraging the members to find that like story that relates to their life that fits into the theme, right? And like I mentioned earlier, it's different every day based on what your battle is every day, but having like something that you can fall back to as like, well, what am I trying to say? What am I trying to feel? And how does it relate to me personally before I try to get other people to relate to it on a larger scale? So we have sat with them and had those conversations to dig deep and like place some meaning behind it, right? Like in our opening statement, we have two soloist performers who are across the field from each other who just can't quite get to the middle to touch. And now what in your life can you relate to that? And it is totally different from everyone, right? Like maybe it's that you want this brand new car, or maybe it's that there is someone who was in your life that's not anymore. And how can we like put like real life emotion, not just we'll smile and reach towards your friend like you can't reach them. So it feels a little like vulnerable and real when there's like an actual storyline that's perfectly related to your life that you can fall back on when you're looking for that inspiration day to day to get the performance to read the right way.
Yeah, and we can sense that authenticity in the way they're expressing. So I love that you just explained that. So Blake, you mentioned the cool props in passing, these like the things with the fabric. Can you talk about those a little? They're cool. Do they have a name, or are they just the props? Like, how do you can you
We
talk
have a
about
name
those and what
for
they
the
mean?
other props, the cylinder-like objects that
Sure.
the performers climb upon. We call those canisters for whatever reason. That's what Steven has decided to call them. But the other props, we just call them props. But in my interpretation of it personally, it does feel like the barrier between where you are at and where you're trying to get to, whether it be, like Erin said, to a person, a place, or a thing. But from Steven's charge, the vulnerability of just even walking through the prop is something that he was very adamant about from the beginning. We didn't want it to come across as a theater curtain or something that we needed to like announce ourselves visually through. He very much was enamored by the idea of just letting the fabric drape over the human body as it comes out onto the stage. Very ethereal. Like it even is just so cool. I have so many vivid memories from seeing them first in Kentucky when we were at pre-tour. Because we would start our ensembles with a little bit of sunlight still, and the first set has the full ensemble behind the curtains. And just to see the shadows of the performers felt so like just otherworldly with that imagery. And even, I mean, there have been some times where it's been really windy, so they get a little unruly and move around and maybe tip over once or twice.
The cool thing with the moving around, like very similar to how everyone's interpretation is different. The emotion that you're putting into it is different. The fabrics never move the same way. Like two pieces of fabric that are sitting next to each other are receiving the same blow from the wind, and they'll go in completely different directions. And when that's happening and they're spread out on the field, it's also like, I mean, it's beautiful and ethereal to look at, but like in terms of the show, it's like, well, that's also exactly what we're asking the kids to do. We're hear the same music, feel the same breeze, and feel it your way. And that's represented like in the most basic way by the fabric not laying twice the same direction. It's really cool.
And just the scale and scope of it is so astounding in the beginning. I remember the first night that we got to see all of the curtains out there, it just felt like we were making it our own. And I could instantly picture it in Lucas Oil Stadium and just completely eliminating the thought of the black curtain behind us. And we just have our own Phantom Regiment, just beautiful set right from the jump. And it recapitulates at the end. And we finally get the connection that we so desperately were yearning for in the beginning. But that scale to me is just, it's jaw dropping. I love it. Every time I see it, I'm still floored by it.
What the guard is wearing is so beautiful. Do you want to speak about that at all? Of course, it's FJM doing their usual great work, Fred J. Miller, of course, but like I know that blue has been a regiment color in the past, so pulling from that makes sense, but they just look so beautiful.
Yeah, Michael Cesario and his team at FJM really did solid with this one. It gone through many iterations, and the biggest talking point was color. We had shifted to purple at one point. We toyed with maybe like a lighter lilac, and I just think, especially once we were starting to exist in an ethereal world, And knowing full well that we were going to have such an abundance of white sheer fabric, especially with the saturation of white from the hornline costume, we knew that we had to contrast the color guard. And that then turned its focus towards finding a shade that really allowed that to be successful, but also still fit within the environment we were trying to create. And it feels like this just floats in space. So blue just felt right. And it needed to have punch and power behind it to successfully contrast us from the color guard. So we landed on this really beautiful cerulean shade that Michael Cesario was just elated with. He just loves color in general. But he is a mastermind and is always the one that really makes sure we look like $1,000,000. And I think we look like $1,000,000,000 this year. That they turn heads when they're walking through the parking lot. They put the costumes on themselves, and we're just absolutely enamored with them. Many of them have had the notion of, I'm a beautiful Phantomette. Like, this is all I've ever wanted. And not that they haven't been beautiful in the past, but like it really just is this very sleek, stunning look that they all look fabulous in. Like every single performer just looks like $1,000,000 in it. And they all look so tall too.
A lot. As you said, that's the genius of Michael Cesario and his design, and everybody looks great. But I mean, Erin, it's important to me for every guard member who ever marches anywhere to feel that way. You know, like they all need to feel phenomenal when they put that on. Do you want to speak to that too?
Yeah, I mean, I like the day that they tried them on and seeing their reactions to me was a good reminder of that. Like when you feel you look good, like it just adds like this boost of confidence to you that like the most confident person in the world could put on an outfit that they are just not into, and it's gonna shrink you down a little bit more. So anytime that they get to put it on and they're in their full like hair and makeup, it is cool to see them like perk up a bit and want to like show that strength that we all know is in them. It's like their superhero, superwoman outfits. Like they put them on and all of a sudden they turn into these like just long, beautiful like performers. And it is cool to me, the personalization that we get out of the tiny bits of skin tone that are showing on it. And it was important for us to make sure that like those skin tones were representative of the guard itself. So FJM did an awesome job at color matching all of that. And Design by Kings is who provides us our gloves, and they also provide color matching things. Same with the shoes. So like at every avenue, a little bit of everyone's costume is customized to them. So no one's is the same in terms of size, but also like in our little cutout pieces, it matches them completely. So I think that also boosts their confidence, just knowing like this is my costume. It is literally just made for me. That just adds to that like regalness that they put it on and they just know it's theirs and they can own it.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. Were there anything about choosing what equipment to use when in this particular production that you could share? Because I feel like the choices are really smart but interesting.
Yeah, there was at least early season in our conversations back in like October and November, we knew that we wanted to push for a larger weapon presence in our shows. And last year was our first big step with that. And this year we knew that we wanted that push to really be Saber. And I mean, don't get us wrong, we all love a Ballad flag feature, but we really thought it would be a step, like a huge step in the right direction for Phantom to maybe try something new in terms of like what our Ballad could offer us. And so we really wanted to have a large Saber line and to dance and to not have a silk for the Ballad, which was new. And I think that this group of kids that we had auditioning through the process kind of like, I mean, it made us be able to make up our mind early enough that, yeah, we're gonna be able to push the group itself to like have this larger weapon presence, but more specifically have this larger Saber presence. And the planning for that was really fun. The conversations with Steven were really fun, and it's been a cool drive and a good like step forward for Regiment that we've got this amount of performers with that much experience to be able to trust them on the field in some of these more high pressure moments.
Even in the performers that are technically the Sabers, we had a very conscious decision in April camp. It was actually kind of funny. There were people that were wanting to audition for weapon, and then whoever was not wanting to audition for weapon probably thought they were just going to learn another dance piece. And I pulled them into a group and I said, you're all going to grab a saber. So we definitely felt correct in that ask of the program, because we saw these performers that might not deem themselves weapons able to do things that were credible and were still expressive, and we were able to then use that and craft it into our arrival moment. Right now there's a lot of interdependency that the performers have with a partnering effort, and the fact that we by numbers have 22 sabers out on the field, everyone's touching a saber at one point, which we find cool. So that was a huge push for it. The budget might not have been able to get us all to have a saber in our hand, but we still found a way to make it happen.
I love it. That's amazing. And I love that you you're helping those performers find things they didn't know they had, well, I'm not good enough to be a saber on the field with the regiment. Well, actually, let me pull that right out of you. So sometimes they have to get over themselves, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it was cool at April Camp to watch that happen. I mean, there were a group of those kids that we've taught at Regiment for a couple of years that I've never seen spin a saber that handled their own. And it was like, wow, okay. Like, again, like Blake said, this is something that we're going to be able to do. And hopefully they walked away from that proving to themselves, like, well, there's more in me that I didn't know that I could do, that I can achieve. So it's been a really cool push for the entire color guard to see this like drive to want to keep learning and bettering ourselves outside of our most comfortable pieces of equipment.
It's fantastic. You want the members to be able to grow all throughout the season, and clearly you've set them up for that. And it's also, as you said, like it's a real risk to put on the saber performers the big moments of the ballad. I think they probably feel very vulnerable and bare without that giant swing flag. So that's a very interesting thing to work on.
Yeah. Well, and even outside of what we decided to do with the equipment, we were made very clear from the beginning with Stephen that the ballad was going to be not in a copy paste version like last year, but he wanted to put the importance on the color guard again. So there is a very clear dividing line of the props, and the color guard take the front stage and take the moment while we hear this distant, like in another world kind of sound sonic environment from the horn line behind it. And it is our time to shine. And that was the moment we were fighting for. And the fact that there was such agreement and most importantly, such trust in our decisions to let that be the way it's crafted is something that just makes the creative process here really easy and smooth. If there ever is a question, it never is met with an odd delivery of opinion. It always is followed by conversations that arrive us at the solutions. And there wasn't hesitancy with the Saber decision. And I think it's because we were so confident about it from the beginning. But the fact that it stayed its course and it is what we are doing for the program is a testament to the trust that we all have on the creative side of things with the drum corps.
That's wonderful. Like that's exactly what someone in your position would want, like to have that level of trust from the people that you're working with. And of course, you guys have earned that because you have a track record of like making it making it happen, like both of you. So that's in your wheelhouse too. So I'm sure that feels really good. You mentioned the canister props that roll around and that I know that we're not defining what things mean, but can you tell us some more about what that purposes or how they serve in the show?
I see them as like a channel or a portal to what you're trying to get to. That's at least how I've been interpreting it. And it does give us the opportunity for height, which is quite nice. And it puts a bit of a different spotlight, if you will, on the performers. And they motivate the program formally a lot. There are many times, especially in the second movement, where they are very fast paced, moving through the stage, creating different textures formally with the horn line. And that interactivity that they have with the performers, in my mind and my interpretation of it, just feels like a portal towards the ultimate end goal of whatever you're trying to reach to.
You'll find it many times that it's when it's standing up in its non-rolling form. When it is standing, there is almost always a performer or two performers in each of them that are doing something related, very far apart, unable to reach each other. So in the opener, it is our two guard performers trying to connect, can't quite get there. In our ballad, it is two horn soloists who are bouncing back and forth with their musical responsibilities, but quite unable to get connected to each other. And then we bring that back together at the end with the two guard performers who do finally reach each other. So like Blake said, it is a good motivator for like guiding your eye across the field, but also just like the storytelling in it all, that when that solo performer is in there, it is in almost like disarray of wanting to be with the other performer who's across the field in the contrast of you.
Yeah, and the prop geek in me wants to know, do they come apart or they always stay together as one big
They
thing?
come apart.
They come apart into halves for storage.
Okay.
Gotta get them down the road somehow.
I do enough drill design to be thinking about, I wonder how they get this around. So I just had to ask.
They're great props though. I mean, Jeff Herr is the best ever with making these crazy contraptions that all the drum corps are using. And we can also just trust that they're produced at a level that we can do cool things with them. So
yeah, they're wonderful. So is there anything else about the show or the guard or your experience this summer so far that you guys wanted to share?
I think we touched on most of it.
Yeah, I think our goal is to prove our ability that beautiful doesn't have a like standard definition. This, like Blake had mentioned, when the guard puts their uniforms on and we have them feeling like, oh, I'm a beautiful phantomette. And it's like, well, that means so many different things. The show is beautiful, but we're vulnerable, we're strong, we're hard hitting. We're fun, we could be quirky. And I think that this show offers our performers the ability to show that beautiful is a word that can mean a plethora of things. And at the root of it, it is just beautiful. So I think for the color guard, that is one of the things that we want to show the world, and for them to kind of show themselves is that you can be all these things. We can put a term on it, but you can be all these things as a performer and it be received in a way in which it's respectful and still true to the Phantom Regiment market.
And that is awesome. Like I love that idea for all of us right now. Like that's just awesome.
Yeah.
And I hope everybody listens to that again. Rewind the last 2 minutes and listen to that again, because that was really well said. Blake, I have to ask you, does your hair just do this naturally? Like, you have this fantastic, like, swoopy thing. Is it just always, Erin, is it always like this?
He just wakes up in the morning and goes like this and looks.
Seriously. All right. I mean, I've never seen you not have great hair. I just wondered if it was just your hair just does that. Okay. Your hair's lovely too, Erin. You both have great hair. You mentioned hair a minute ago and I almost went there and I was like, no, I'm not going to interrupt, talk about hair. I'm going to come back. So I made a note. All right. Well, this has been really fun. I think that the show is wonderful. It's beautiful. It is unique. The movement of the curtains and how they're used is so cool and beautiful. And I've just seen it on video. So, everybody go see it live. Everybody go see it live and see what that's going to do. And of course, you need to hear Drum Corps live for sure. So I'm going to let you each say any final thing you want to say about your summer or about the Corps or about the Guard as we're finishing up. By the way, everybody, they mentioned Tyler and Matt of the Drumline. I'm actually doing a conversation with them, recording that tomorrow. So watch for that conversation as well. Can't wait to talk to them about the regiment percussion. So Erin, anything you want to say in wrapping up?
In wrapping, I say get a chance to see us live and form your why of what our show is about. And I guess as an audience member, just as we do as audience members, as we watch it, allow yourself to be just as vulnerable as the kids are trying to put in and take from it what you will. And hopefully you get in your car after whatever show that is and it makes you think.
I love that. Blake?
I would just say the summer only has about a month left, so get to a show if you can, because too often we tell the performers that every show is as important as the last show, because sometimes this is the only opportunity people have the chance to see the 2025 version of the Phantom Regiment. Not to say that they ever take a performance for granted, but it is something that we really do want to impress upon them. And the show in and of itself asks that of them. So if we're just down the road, come to a show, buy a t-shirt at the fan shop, and come support the Phantom Regiment.
That's right. Support the Corps, make a donation, buy a shirt, all those things. Blake and Erin, you're doing such wonderful work, and the Corps is so honored and fortunate to have you there and those members that you're working with especially. So thank you for giving them such a great, great experience this summer and for sharing all that you can do with them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's sweet of you.
Marching Arts Education is the home of the Marching Roundtable podcast. We give you access to the top marching arts professionals through live webinars, podcasts, videos, interviews, and online coursework. With over 1,000 podcasts and hundreds of webinars and videos, there are hours of great professional development for you and your staff. Imagine what you could do with so many great new ideas from the top professionals in our activity. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and sign up for our newsletter to find out about the latest podcasts, webinars, and new content. Find all of this and sign up at marchingartseducation.com.